We know that improving the future for girls improves the future for all. But young girls are still affected by a lack of confidence and ingrained gender stereotypes, which can limit their educational and career choices. Research shows that having visible female role models can significantly improve girls' outlook and futures. That's why we have made it our mission to connect young girls with female role models, to build their confidence and inspire them to achieve their ambitions through face-to-face workshops and speed networking events. We work alongside schools and in local communities to ensure all girls have the tools and support they need to reach their full potential. So far, we have reached thousands of girls in 13 countries across 3 continents and will be launching in Africa this year. But our ambition doesn't stop there. We want to connect every girl with access to the internet to inspiring female role models. That's why we are launching the Inspiring Girls Video Hub and Platform, a free online resource giving all girls access to thousands of female role models, women from all walks of life, wherever and whenever they need them. Because we believe in an equal future and girls without limits. We hope you'll join us and help inspire the next generation of girls globally.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Inspiring Girls Summit 2019. I'm Michelle Hussain. I work in television and radio at the BBC, and it's my privilege to be part of this very special event that is going to be celebrating the work of inspiring girls around the world and launching the brand new digital part of it, which you had a little glimpse of there, the Video Hub, of which more later. A special welcome to all the girls who are here from Camden School for Girls. You're all over the place. Welcome. And all of you who are here, and indeed those who are watching on the live stream, can help get the message out further by using the hashtag IGSummit2019 on social media. And you can share what you see and hear here and also what inspires you. We're also going to have some of the girls come up on stage and do their bit, take over from me later on. I'm sure they'll probably do a much better job, which would be entirely in line with the Inspiring Girls ethos and idea, so I have no problem with that at all. But it is something that means a lot to me personally. I wrote a book about women in the workplace and the skills that I've seen and used in my career in broadcasting and how they can be applied to any path and to people at any stage of life. So this morning we are going to hear from inspiring women, from inspiring girls, even from the odd man. And on that note, a word from our host. So please welcome Ben Malbon from Google.
Thank you very much. I am the odd man, so I've never been introduced like that before, but so thank you for that, Michelle. Firstly, welcome to everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today here at our offices in London. My name is Ben Malbon. I work in the marketing team and look after pieces of Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, so a kind of fairly broad-ranging role. I'm particularly excited and happy to be here with you today to celebrate International Day of the Girls. As empowering girls is something that's very close to my heart, and in fact, it's one of my main preoccupations in life. This is my daughter, Molly. She was 16 2 weeks ago. This was taken pretty much the day she was 16. So this is a very typical look of Molly, which I would describe as a non-look. Yeah, she's basically saying, Daddy, what are you doing? Can you stop looking at me? Please put the camera away. But of course, I can't help it because I'm so proud of her. And while I do indeed annoy her to death most days, I think we get on just about okay, but we're entering that tricky phase. And it's an amazing experience being a parent, and I think it might be a particularly amazing experience being the father of a daughter. And I know I feel great responsibility to give her the opportunities that she wants in life, everything that she deserves, to let nothing hold her back, to let everything kind of be moved out of the way, to give her the confidence to move those things out of the way herself. And I think dads in particular have a particular responsibility to show the way, to try and lead by example with daughters. It's not just something that should be left to mothers. And while I know I'm not the best dad in the world, I would say, and I think she would agree, that I'm learning fast. I think that's the nicest way of putting it. Anyway, I wanted to show you something that I helped make almost 10 years ago. So this feels like a long time ago in Google history. It's almost 10 years to the day. It's the first thing that I actually made at Google when I joined the marketing team here. It's about the internet, and it's about some of the things that you can do on the internet and do with the web. Even 10 years ago, it was a very kind of phenomenal thing in terms of the flexibility that it provided. This story you're about to see is a short film we made about the relationship that exists between a father and his daughter. His pride, his fears, his magical moments, some of the milestones that his daughter reached as she grew up. And I thought it might be a good place to kick off this morning. So have a quick look at this.
Today?
So thank you for giving me 2 seconds to compose myself. It still gets to me that after all these years. So here at Google, we've been proud to work with Inspiring Girls from a really early stage. As Michelle said, producing the first Inspiring Girls video series of female role models in tech for International Women's Day. And we're really excited to be supporting this first Inspiring Girls Summit. Having seen the agenda and had a preview of some of the talks and what you'll be up to later today, I know you're in for a really great few hours here. We all know that empowering girls to embrace their career ambitions is important. And in fact, a study by McKinsey shows that if women were given the same opportunities to play an identical role in labour markets to that of men, an additional $28 trillion could be generated and added to annual GDP. Which is, yes, so that's it. And if anyone hasn't done the calculation, that's equivalent to the Chinese and US GDP combined, so a significant amount of untapped potential. And that's also connected to why we launched Grow with Google, with a really strong focus on women. Grow with Google prepares people for the future of work by providing free training and products that help people find a job, advance their careers, or simply grow their existing business. So far, Grow with Google has trained more than 5 million people in Europe, and 48% of those people are women. Another program we designed here at Google specifically for women's needs is #IamRemarkable. And it's fantastic, actually, that lots of the schoolgirls in the room today will be able to experience the I Am Remarkable program a bit later this afternoon, where there'll be some volunteers to run you through that session. I've done it myself with my team, and it's a great way of spending some time. Now, I Am Remarkable came from simple observation. Women apply to a job when they feel they meet 100% of the criteria for that job. Men apply to the same roles when they feel they meet 60% of the criteria for that job. It's difficult to say that on stage in front of all these powerful and amazing women, but that's what the data says. So I Am Remarkable, therefore, is about encouraging women and girls to celebrate their achievements and build their confidence. And I hope it will inspire those who go through that later today to do just that as well. To conclude, I wanted to, on behalf of Google, express our gratitude to all of you who've taken time to be with us today. I know many of you have travelled some distance as well. I wish you all an inspiring and empowering summit. The opportunity is massive, and I'm looking forward to doing more with you together to make sure the next generation is empowered to grow in the workplace and beyond. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. You know, my family from Pakistan, and in Urdu we have a saying that a daughter turns a man into a human being. You're there already. So Inspiring Girls is only a few years old, but it's grown very fast into today's global network. Clearly, it has even bigger ambitions. But this summer, it ran a competition across 13 countries in which girls submitted their own videos with their responses to the campaign so far. And it was won by someone who has traveled a very long way to be with us this morning. She's 16. She's from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Please welcome Ana Claudia Rodrigues da Silva Emelo.
Olá a todos, meu nome é Ana Cláudia, eu tenho 16 anos, vim da Escola Estadual Pereira Barreto, é uma escola localizada na cidade de São Paulo. A Inspiring Girls Brasil, ela foca principalmente nos alunos de escolas estaduais para dar mais acesso e oportunidades a alunos como eu. Eu estou muito feliz por estar discursando na Inspiring Girls Global Summit como vencedora do concurso de vídeo e é a primeira vez que eu viajo para fora do meu país. E eu estou muito animada por estar aqui. Obrigada. Eu gostaria de contar um pouco para vocês como que a Inspiring Girls mudou minha vida nos últimos meses. Quero falar com vocês sobre um dia que uma mulher chamada Lilian Santos veio à minha escola e como uma modelo para a Inspiring Girls, e ela é uma executiva sênior de tecnologia, mãe e contadora de histórias. Ela morava no bairro da Brasilândia, na periferia de São Paulo, que é onde eu nasci e cresci. Ela passou por muitas situações difíceis até chegar onde ela está hoje, e ela é uma mulher muito forte e admirável. Lilia nos falou sobre sua jornada de carreira e seu papel atual como executiva sênior, trabalhando em tecnologia e inovação. Ela também nos contou sobre sua história de vida e sobre a sua infância. Isso foi muito importante para nós, porque muitas meninas da minha turma moram no bairro onde a Lilian foi criada. E foi incrível para elas ouvir isso de uma mulher tão impressionante que veio da sua região. O trabalho de Lilian é muito interessante e depois de uma sessão eu pude perceber a mudança nas atitudes das alunas, porque elas começaram a ter mais interesse em áreas ocupadas por homens, como engenharia e tecnologia. No entanto, o que eu me lembro, acima de tudo, é a força e a capacidade de nunca ser abalada pelos obstáculos da vida. Ela passou por momentos difíceis e transformou em algo positivo e inspirador. Por exemplo, ela nos disse que tinha se tornado uma contadora de histórias para apoiar crianças carentes. Uma aluna da minha turma reconheceu Lilian, que havia contado suas histórias para ela enquanto estava doente no hospital, e foi muito emocionante. Todos os alunos ficaram comovidos por vê-las compartilhar um momento tão importante. Lilian realmente nos mostrou que ser uma menina vai além de vestidos e a cor de rosa, mas sobre ser independente, forte, criativa e persistente. O impacto que a Inspiring Girls causou mesmo em pouco tempo é algo que vai mudar as mentes de muitas meninas que precisam de apoio e encorajamento. Acredito que é importante tornar as meninas da minha idade conscientes de tudo que podemos fazer, independente de todas as limitações que a sociedade impõe às mulheres do meu país. Não devemos manter os nossos sonhos na nossa imaginação, mas torná-los reais. Agora eu tenho uma visão de metas para a minha vida e acredito que posso alcançá-las. Uma menina pode fazer a diferença no mundo, e o mundo precisa de todo o bem que podemos fazer. Finalmente, eu gostaria de agradecer a todos que me deram a oportunidade de estar aqui. Essa competição me ofereceu uma oportunidade que eu nunca pensei ser possível. Hoje estou conhecendo uma nova cultura e posso ser ouvida por mais pessoas. E fez-me acreditar que tudo que eu faço tudo que eu quiser pode ser alcançado. Espero que mais meninas possam ser ouvidas como como eu tenho sido, porque sei que podemos conquistar o mundo com nossa força. Então, lute como uma menina. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello everyone. I would like to congratulate Inspiring Girls for the launch of the Video Hub. You may wonder why I am speaking today, and it is simple. I am convinced that by working together with Inspiring Girls, we can make meaningful change to eliminate gender stereotypes, which at the end curtail the ambitions of girls. We should aim to live in a society where girls, like you, can dream big. And this is especially true in technology, where women traditionally haven't had the role or recognition that they deserve. Some of you may not know that one of the first computer programmers in the world was a woman, Ada Lovelace. That one of the founders of the basic coding language was a woman, Sister Mary Kenneth. That the person who introduced computers to NASA and calculated the trajectory of the Apollo 11 to the moon was a woman, Katherine Johnson. That an actress helped invent the system that gave way to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS, Hedy Lamarr. Or that every time you use Google Maps or any app with GPS is thanks to the work of a woman, Gladys Mae West. These are just some examples of extraordinary leaders whose contribution to technology was a breakthrough and yet often went unrecognized. Society needs more examples like this, more women in leadership that serve as role models to you. The Inspiring Girls Hub is a great example of an innovative digital platform to address the specific issue of a lack of diverse role models for girls. And we are very happy to contribute. At Telefónica, we have ambitious targets to ensure a greater number of women in management roles by 2020. But diversity for us is much more than statistics. It is above all inclusion. It is about fostering a culture of work in which the uniqueness of beliefs, backgrounds, and capabilities help us make a better company. In other words, we believe that diversity generates value for companies and for society. We firmly believe that people give purpose to technology and not the other way around. And that's why we want to make sure girls like you play a key role in this unique moment in human history. We hope that some of the girls in the room today might become one day leaders in Telefónica. Count on us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jose Maria. Telefónica are one of the main, in fact, the main global sponsor for Inspiring Girls. There are other sponsors, but they are absolutely central to helping make this mission a reality. And big thanks to Ana Claudia for being here, for traveling from such a long way, and for taking us into your world and bringing us all together in the way that you did. So thank you so much for being part of this. So, before we welcome Camden School for Girls, schoolgirls, up on stage for the next part of the proceedings, we can hear from the woman whose idea all of this was. I'm still absolutely in awe of the way that she took this idea, developed it, took it all around the world, and got it to where it is today. So please welcome the founder and chair of Inspiring Girls, Miriam Gonzalez-Dorantes.
Thanks so much, Michelle. And I have been asked to introduce to you our brand new tool, which is the Video Hub and the platform that comes with that Video Hub. But I cannot do that without paying due credit first to all the people who have made this event possible. People sometimes ask me, like, where do you find time to do all this? And honestly, my bit is the easy bit, because I get the public recognition for it. What is hard, what really has a lot of merit, is all the people who work on this in the background, you know. The people in headquarters, our national teams, our trustees, our ambassadors, our sponsors, our volunteers, the teachers that support us, and yes, as well, the girls. Now, that is what really has a lot of merit. I was, yesterday we were in headquarters doing, you know, when you organize this kind of events, you always have a final run to make sure that all the details are there and we know what is going to happen. And those of you who know me, I'm not the emotional type. But boy, I was almost in tears yesterday because I just look around the room, and, you know, such few people who have managed to do in 3 years. We have managed to bring this to 13 countries, and it is my enormous pleasure to be able to announce today that we will be opening in our first country in Africa, Morocco, next. And thank you, Jasmine, who is somewhere there, for coming to the summit as well. All this is due to the hard work of people like Vicky, our CEO, like Trish, like Beth, like Chloe, like Sarah, like Begonia, who is in Singapore. You know, we have this say in Inspiring Girls that Inspiring Girls does not run on money, it runs on energy, and you're amazing, you really are. So let me present to you this brand new baby, and indeed it feels like a baby to me. This feels like a very, very long 3 years pregnancy until we have got this together. But this is a video hub that is meant to address gender stereotypes. And gender stereotypes are everywhere. We just don't notice them because we have normalized them. But they are always there. And while women of my generation, we sort of know how to deal with them, those gender stereotypes have a terrible impact on the lives of girls and the lives of boys, because they really limit and shape the aspirations and the dreams of girls. And we believe that connecting girls with female role models is not the only manner to tackle gender stereotypes, but it's a really effective manner to tackle them. And I'm glad that I'm not the only person who says this, because 70% of the girls who come to our events tell us that they see their future differently after talking to our role models. Now, if you want a good figure, that is a good figure as to what a difference you can make with a tiny, tiny contribution. This video hub and platform is based on a super simple premise, and that premise is that there are not just thousands, there are millions, tens of millions of amazing female role models all throughout the world. And they don't make it often to the television, some do, but they don't make it often to television or to glossy magazines, but they are still amazing women. And all that we are trying to do is not to look for them, because they are there, but to connect them with girls. And we are doing it in the best manner and simplest manner that we know, which is by using technology, so that the geographical distance becomes no longer a barrier. We used to bring role models to girls' schools. What we are trying to do now is to bring them to their homes, to their sitting rooms. You know that sofa? Anybody here has teenagers? I have 2 teenagers at home. That sofa where they spend an enormous amount of time lying there with a mobile telephone, just chatting to somebody else, we are bringing the female role models right there to that telephone so that they cannot miss them even if they want. The Video Hub works with self-recorded videos from women from all walks of life, well-known women, non-well-known women, doing whatever it is that you guys do. You do 3 to 5 minutes videos, you upload it in our system, and you just tell simple things. Your life, how you got there, your ups, your downs, what kind of advice could you give the girls? We categorize them, they are in different languages, we categorize them by career so that it becomes really easy to go through them. And we do it in a manner that is open, so that from the moment you get into the hub, you don't see your path narrowing down, but you are exposed to more and more different things that women do all around the world. And if you want to talk to any of those women, those who have a specific symbol there, you can go to your schools and ask that they get in touch with us, because we would make those female role models available to you, either in person, if they happen to be close to you, or remotely, using the current technology, so that you can really have an in-depth discussion with them. And we are doing this also in an interactive manner. So we are asking from the girls that you tell us, who would you like to nominate as a female role model as well? I live right now in Silicon Valley for the last 9 months or so. It has been quite a journey, and something that surprises me all the time there is how you are being brainwashed about the technology is there. We have invented this technology already, so we need to start applying it to everyday problems to find the solutions. Now, there are lots of companies there who amazingly have put together new technology to try to sort out everyday problems, and they are doing it very well, and they are making a lot of money with it as well. What we are doing with this Video Hub is to apply technology to sort out a problem that affects most girls all throughout the world, and get this, we make this available to you for free. Now, we are releasing this Video Hub with 100 videos of women, all kinds of women. We have from a writer to prime ministers, oceanographics, engineers, models. You can watch it all. And this is only 100. I'm always being told by my team, you should not be too ambitious. We should probably go to the 1,000. I really hope that with everybody's help, we can get it to the tens of thousands. And if I really get, in a good day, perhaps to the hundreds of thousands. Come on, this is the world, so we should be able to do it. And all that we need from you is just 10 minutes. 10 minutes of your life. Every single woman in the room, you really have no excuses, because in the foyer there are going to be lots of cameras. So we are not letting you leave this place unless you record your video. And those of you who are watching through the internet, live stream, just as soon as this is finished, get to your camera, press recording, just tell your story, and send it to us so that you can contribute to this as well. And if during all this time I haven't convinced you that you should do this, I am going to present to you now a video with some of the first 100 women who have recorded their videos on the Video Hub. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Thea Green.
Hi, I'm Julia Gillard.
I'm Natalie Picot.
I'm Sylvia Earle.
السلام عليكم الاسم ديالي بشرى بيبانو.
My name is Crystal Frimpong. I'm an account manager for Waits Construction.
My name is Beck Hill, and I am a comedian, writer, presenter, actor.
My name is Millie Kendall. I'm the CEO of the British Beauty Council. Started my career as a hairdresser, sweeping floors at a Tony and Guy salon.
I went to fashion college, London College of Fashion, and I did lots of interning when I was there. And I think what interning taught me was whether or not, you know, in my chosen field of kind of fashion and beauty, what side of it did I want to work on, and it was definitely the creative side, which then led me to the business side of actually setting up my business.
I was told that I should probably take up home science and cook some curries because that's what girls do. This was one of the professors in my class. But I think that did resonate with me in the sense because I said, that's not what I'm going to do because that's not what I enjoy doing. And I think that's something that gave me a push to actually study science, mathematics, and be independent and have a career in that area.
Carrera en un momento tenía un buen trabajo, me pagaban muy bien, pero quería hacer otra cosa. Y tuve la oportunidad de irme a estudiar lo que realmente quería hacer, que era estudios sobre impacto social y medioambiental. Dudé muchísimo y al final me arriesgué. Fue un riesgo controlado, pero me fui a estudiar lo que realmente quería hacer. Y eso es lo que me ayudó a volver de nuevo a Telefónica y hacer lo que hago hoy en día.
I do think there's definitely a gap and a challenge with ethnicity and gender in our industry. And so the job that I am currently in, been doing it for about 6 months now, it did come as a surprise when I got it because there was no intention of me going for it. So when I got the role, I was like, really? You sure it's me? Which was quite funny, but I think actually as the months have gone on, I've reassured myself and been confident that actually I do deserve to be here, and I am more than happy to make a difference and an impact to people who look like myself and want to work hard.
The things that always stick in my memory are the ones where I've done something that I didn't think that I could do. So I've said yes to something, I've been terrified about it, and it's actually ended up not only working out, but showing to me that I've got skills that I wasn't aware that I had. And nothing fills you with more of a sense of pride and purpose.
Lo mejor de mi trabajo es que siempre estoy informada de todo lo que ocurre en cualquier lugar del mundo. Eso me permite entender las razones de por qué algunas cosas pasan. Como periodista puedo denunciar situaciones injustas y también puedo poner en valor cosas que hacen otras personas para que tengamos todos un lugar, un mundo mejor.
So success for me was when I actually got to a place where I was able to be independent, autonomous, and still work as a professional and still have the time and ability to do those societal transformational programs and activities that were equally important to me.
Una persona que me inspiró, mi madre, por su fuerza, por ser luchadora también. Ella tuvo que salir de un país en guerra, salió del Líbano con 3 niños, se fue a París sin saber realmente dónde iba a vivir y cómo. Si tengo dudas, pues lo miro con un poco de distancia, de perspectiva y pienso, no es nada comparado con todo lo que ella vivió. Entonces, esto me ayuda a tomar decisiones también. Me equivoco también, y si me equivoco no pasa nada. La idea es volver a intentarlo y es algo que aprendí de ella.
If I was to give one piece of advice to any young woman right now, I would say, don't listen to that little voice in your head that says you're not good enough, because you are.
What separates the people that are actually considered to be huge successes later and the people that didn't quite make it is the fact that those that are faced with disappointment put that disappointment behind them and battle on.
It's very important to nurture a sense of self that isn't going to be on this roller coaster of people are saying nice things about me on Twitter today, I feel good about myself. They're saying dreadful things, you know, the next day, and then you feel bad about yourself. You've got to nurture a sense of self that's not hostage to those ups and downs.
بنت عندها بزاف القدرات وأنها خاصها تثق في راسها وتثق في إمكانياتها. إذا كانت عندك شي حلم حاولي تحققيه، ما تقوليش واش المجتمع يسمح لي ولا ما يسمحليش. مادام هذاك الحلم انت اللي حلمتي به فمن حقك انك تحلمي ومن حقك انك تحققي الاحلام ديالك.
Don't get trapped in the thinking that what there is today has to be the way it always will be. You can make a difference, whoever you are.
So remember, do what you really want to do because your heart tells you to do it. Believe in yourself because the only one who's putting limits is your own self, and make sure to keep on learning. Good luck. Hope all goes well.
Now, aren't they amazing? You know, who would not like to know more and to talk more with these women? I would like to talk more with these women, and the good news is that now you can do that by using our Video Hub and our platform. But none of this could have been possible without the support from some people who have really managed to provide us with the resources that we needed to be able to do all this. Thank you so much to Telefonica. I don't know where you are there, but you know, amazing, Arantxa. You know, you took a leap of faith on us very early on, and it wasn't obvious at the time, and you have made a whole difference. Thank you to the Mobile World Capital Barcelona for choosing us as one of their projects. Thank you to Co-Ingresser for providing us with the headquarters and more help that is reasonable to ask for. But thank you also to the individuals, to people like Rumi, to people like the UK ambassador in Morocco. So many of you. I cannot mention all of you today, but it is really thanks to all that help that we can unveil this today. Now, in the spirit of this Video Hub and this belief that we have that geographical distance is not a problem any longer because we can deal with that through technology, we are bringing to you an address from 3 wonderful women, women who are at the very top of tech, of business, and of politics. And it is my pleasure to introduce the very first of those addresses to you, This is a woman who is the CEO of Facebook. She's the chair of Lean In and Plan B. She is a friend. She is Sheryl Sandberg. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook and founder of Lean In and Option B. I'm so glad I can join this incredible group, at least via video. I want to thank Inspiring Girls for creating a space where girls from around the world can connect with each other and with leaders from all industries. I also want to congratulate you on the launch of Video Hub, which I know will serve as an amazing resource for so many. I've personally seen the positive difference role models can make in young girls' lives. Too often, girls are discouraged from leading. They're called bossy for speaking up and they're self-esteem stuffers. Whether it's reminding girls that it's okay to be confident to lead and to dream big, or paving new paths in spaces where women are underrepresented, the support of bold, ambitious women is so important for creating the next generation of leaders. And now with Video Hub, girls can access this life-changing mentorship no matter where they come from. This project is just one example of the many ways that technology helps people connect with each other, exchange ideas, and transform communities. That's why I'm so passionate about getting more girls and women in tech. I'll never forget when one computer science student told me years ago, there are more Davids than women in my CS department. Tech needs you and your great ideas. Whether in tech or any other industry, empowering girls will create a better world for all of us. I hope the leaders here today and those who participate in Video Hub celebrate girls when they speak up, stand out, and take risks, no matter the outcome. And let's all encourage girls to own their accomplishments. To the girls here today, I am cheering you on, and I can't wait to see what you build for the world.
And the other two messages that are part of that series, you'll be hearing them later on in the morning. So, as you know, first of all, actually, Miriam, congratulations on all your work. I really don't know how you do it. But just building on this central part of the Inspiring Girls idea that connecting girls with a wider range of role models than they're likely to meet in the course of everyday life. We're now going to see what kind of interaction that contact produces, because it's time now for the girls' takeover. Students at Camden School for Girls are now going to question and even grill two outstanding women. So I'm going to hand over now to Maya Sanziri, who is going to introduce the first interview. Welcome, Maya.
Mary Beard is one of the most well-known British classicists. She's a professor at the University of Cambridge and an associate of Newnham College. She's the author of many bestsellers based on the ancient world, such as Pompeii, the life of a Roman town, which won the Wolfson History Prize and then was adapted into a TV movie. Mary Beard even played the Professor Mary Beard in the adaptation. Mary is one of the presenters for BBC's latest landmark Civilization series, for which she wrote an accompanying book. She also hosts the BBC television arts show called Front Row Late, which is a show all about politics and the arts. She's also the classics editor of the Times Literary Supplement and writes a thought-provoking blog called A Don's Life. She was made an OBE in 2013 for her contribution to the world of classics, and was then made a Dame in 2018 after being placed on the Queen's Birthdays Honours List. One of her latest books was the critically acclaimed SPQR, A History of Ancient Rome and the Thought-Provoking Women and Power, a manifesto. At Camden, we especially inspired by clever, witty, challenging women, and we're honoured and excited to meet Mary today and find out more about her fascinating career. Please welcome Mary Beard and Marwa El-Bukhati.
A long way round.
Welcome, Mary. Thank you for being with us today. Firstly, what or who inspired you to become a classicist? Did you have a role model?
I think this is quite a good story because it shows how random things can be and unplanned. I work on ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and other ancient civilizations, and I think I wanted to do that from the time I was 5. And my mum took me to the British Museum. I was little, and back in the day, the cases at the British Museum were not kind of child-friendly. You know, they were right up there. And I wanted to see the Egyptian things. It wasn't Greek and Rome, but it was ancient stuff. And my mum said to me, look, in the back of that case, there's a piece of 2,000-year-old Egyptian cake, right? And I thought, wow, you know, that was the moment, that was the light bulb moment. Cake, 2,000 years old. But because I couldn't see it, because the case was up here and I was down there, my mum was kind of got bags and she tried to lift me up. But I still couldn't really see it. Then some bloke came along and sort of saw this very ungainly activity happening and said, what did I want to see? And I said, the cake, you know, the cake, please. And he got some keys out of his pocket. He unlocked the case, he went to the back and he presented me with the cake. And I thought 2 things about that. I thought, again, wow, you know, I was only 5 and I thought it was amazing that cake survived 2,000 years. But there was another message in the story, really, and that was that actually, if you were interested in something, if you said, yeah, I want to see that bit of cake, you might be lucky and someone might really help you. You know, and in some ways, the person who kind of put me onto studying the ancient world, archaeology, was that guy who opened the case for me and said, yeah, you can see it. And it was a sort of message in asking for it. And, you know, then there was a hell of a lot of hard work, I have to say, between the cake moment and it ending up, you know, teaching Latin and Greek at university. And it was hard work and it wasn't all fun. But that's where it started. But I think in terms of other, and he's a role model. I never knew who he was and he must be long dead, you know. But I had all kinds of women, particularly in Cambridge, where I was at an all-women's college, but the overall student body in the whole university was only just over 10% women. I mean, we were terribly outnumbered. I mean, in some ways, I can't deny that it was also rather strange and slightly exotic to be outnumbered like that, but it was also quite oppressive. And I lived in a college and was taught by women who constantly said, you can do it, you will do well, you know, don't let the buggers get you down, you know, you can make it. And I mean, that was just day-to-day encouragement. And there were guys, you know, I have to say, there were more men too that did it. It wasn't, you know, I haven't lived my life only being encouraged by women. I've been encouraged by lots of men, and I have one very, very strong moment, which I think is almost as important as the cake moment, when I was having lunch with an older male colleague, and I'd shown him a bit of writing I'd just done, and I was quite proud of. And I must have been I was already about 24. And he just looked at me, and it was terrible at the time. He said, Mary, you've got to be more interesting. You know, you try showing your prize piece of work to someone who says, this is really boring, right? But 40 years later, I'm so grateful, you know? So sometimes things happen to push you on which are not very comfortable at the time. Like, be a bit more interesting, dear. And it was a good message. So lots of different role models, even from guys.
Wow. What do you...
Dare I say it, yes.
What do you think that studying classics has to offer for students considering their career?
I mean, I think it's very easy to say, why on earth spend a lot of time studying the ancient world 2,000 years ago, what relevance does it have? And you know, how the hell are you going to get a job when you've done that? And I know that's a lot of mums and dads say to potential students who now come and see me. They say, "Mum and Dad say I'll never get a job if I do Latin and Greek." You know, well, one answer to that is that anybody who does well in any chosen subject at a university has got a great start to a career. You know, I don't think it simply isn't right to say, if I really want to be sure of getting a job, what I've got to do is study a subject which is useful. You know, actually, people who study the most useless subjects get the greatest jobs, and the key is that you're studying something that you want to study. And if you want to study accountancy, that is great, go ahead and do it, but don't go and study accountancy because someone says, you know, particularly someone older, oh, that would be really useful later. Study something you've got a drive to study, and then the world opens up. You know, employers of any sort want people who are interested in what they do and enthusiastic and have thought about things, whether it's chemistry, whether it's maths, whether it's French, whether it's history. They want someone who's engaged and who has, in the jargon, kind of transferable skills. You know, if you do classics, it doesn't mean that you're going to spend the rest of your life with your head in the sand, you know, looking for 2,000 years ago. You're not. You're going to be thinking about how you think and how you find out things, and you're very employable. You go into the Foreign Office, you go into theatre, you go into, some of my students go on to do medicine or law, computers, you know, you name it. So do what the hell you want, not what someone tells you you should do.
You've written a book on women and power. Why do you think it is important to have a historical perspective on women's empowerment?
I think that it's very easy to live right now and to see and be very aware of and feel a bit oppressed by sometimes the stereotypes that we've been talking about. You know, the idea that, you know, there are things that women can't do, or there are things that women should do. There are places that women shouldn't open their mouths, that women don't really have the same right to speak as men. And I think that can be, you know, it can be both puzzling and annoying, and kind of depressing and dispiriting. Now, when I wrote this little book, and it's very short, really, about women and power, what I wanted to say was, look, these issues have got a long history. You know, these aren't just our problems. They go back 2,500 years. And I started the book with what I thought was, for me, at least in the West, the earliest example of a spotty male teenager telling his clever, sassy mum to shut up, right? And it comes at the very beginning of Homer's great epic, The Odyssey, the second earliest bit of literature to survive from the West. And it's the story of how the Greek hero Odysseus comes back from the Trojan War. It takes him 10 years because he's always fetching up with rather distracting women when he's supposed to be getting back to his wife and kid. And so part of the story is Odysseus coming home, and part of the story is what the wife and kid are doing. And the wife is called Penelope, and she's very smart. And the spotty male teenager is a guy called Telemachus, who in the course of this time grows up. He starts being a kid and he ends up being a man. And in the very first book of this extremely long poem, there's a scene in which Penelope, the wife, has been upstairs and she goes down into the hall of her rather large palace. And she finds a bard singing, and the bard is singing a song about what a terrible time her husband is having getting back home. And she says, utterly reasonably, couldn't you sing something a little bit more cheerful, you know, for that? Telemachus, the teenager, overhears her and says, "Mother, shut up. Speech is man's business. Go back upstairs." And that's exactly what the clever Penelope does. I'd read the Odyssey dozens of times, and it was only about 10 years ago I noticed that. I thought, blimey, you know, this kid is doing what men have done for 2,500 years. They've said to women who said something awkward, "Go upstairs." Now, she does, but somehow it put iron in my soul. And I think that if we read those things and we see that there's a history to all this, it's really easier to cope with it and to understand it. You can't solve a problem like women's silence or disempowerment unless you really understand what the problem is. And in order to understand the problem is, somebody's got to look at the history of it. And that's one of the reasons I have to say, while studying Greece and Rome is very useful. But it certainly helped me to kind of get a different grip on it.
Finally, if you could go back in time, where and when would you go and why?
That's a terribly difficult question. It's partly a difficult question because I think, particularly as a woman, most of history has been even worse than it is now, you know, and the idea of going back to some other culture, you know, where not only is it terrible to be a woman, but, you know, you don't have, you know, you haven't got aspirin and other basic requirements of modern life. It seems to be truly ghastly. So what I usually say is, I'm only going to take a day return anywhere I go, because I want to come back. And I'm kind of basic optimist, I'd rather time travel to the future where I think it might be better. I suppose that what I do, you know, because, you know, how could I pass up the opportunity to go back to somewhere in the ancient Roman world? And as I say, with the day return ticket, sort of Doctor Who style TARDIS, I suppose. And I think that I'd want to go back to the kind of places and to meet the kind of people that the very male-dominant evidence that we have from the Roman world just doesn't tell us about. The people that are not noticed. You know, there's an awful lot, not all, but an awful lot of the literature that survives from Rome is about, well, posh white male generals, really, who massacre a lot of people, right? That's, you know, most of it is from that. So I would want to go back and spend time with the Roman slaves, with some women. I want to find out what the women and the slaves think about these posh white generals who killed so many people, and just get a different view. But as I say, if you say, would I like to live in ancient Rome? The answer is absolutely not. I study it because I think it's very interesting. Do I like the Romans? I really hate them in some ways. And that's the truth. You heard it from me, all right?
It's been a complete honour to speak to you today, and thank you for being such an amazing role model for girls like me. Ladies and gentlemen, please will we give a warm round of applause to Mary Beard.
And to you. Come on.
Hi, I'm Julia Gillard, the 27th Prime Minister of Australia and Chair of the Global Institute of Women's Leadership. In this globalised, connected age, I think it's fantastic that the Inspiring Girls Video Hub will mean that any girl around the world, anytime, can connect and get the information and inspiration she needs. I know from my own life how important it's been to have female role models. When I was starting out in politics, thinking that I might want to be in Parliament, there weren't many women around, but one was very important to me, a woman called Joan Kerner, who was a senior politician in Australia. And from that, I've taken a life lesson that young women, girls, need to be able to see someone else doing a role that they've got an interest in, So I think if you can see a role model, it helps you believe that you too can do it. When I was growing up in my family, I wasn't the subject of too much gender stereotyping. There was only my sister and I, and we were both told to aim high and to want to go on to university and to have careers. But there was certainly a lot of gender stereotyping in the 60s and 70s about women's role and women's place, to the extent that in my high school days, we were taught as girls cooking, sewing and laundry to get us ready to be the housewives of the future. So it did have an impact on me. Over time, as I came to understand more about feminism, I saw that women could do anything, and that was an important lesson for me to learn as a very young woman. I'd encourage women around the world who have had the opportunity to do some amazing things to just take 10 minutes of their time to share those with girls through Inspiring Girls and the Video Hub. It can make a real difference for a young girl to see that she can achieve, she can do what you do. She's probably never going to get the opportunity to sit in a room with you, but 10 minutes of your time means that she can learn directly from your experiences.
Mazoon Al-Melehan, 21, is a Syrian refugee and education activist and the first refugee to be named the UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador. Mazoon has been campaigning for children's education in emergencies since she was forced to flee Syria in 2013 with her family. Mazoon offers a powerful, authentic voice on education in emergencies. She is also a No Lost Generation campaign champion for UNICEF, Middle East and North Africa. She has spoken to world leaders' high-level events, including the UN General Assembly and the G20, and has visited Chad, Jordan and Mali with UNICEF. Mazoon is the recipient of many awards, including BBC lists 100 influential and inspirational women, Time's 30 most influential teens, Teen Vogue's 21, Under 21 and Glamour Woman of the Year award. She is currently studying at a university in the UK. Please welcome Mazoon Al-Melehan and Sumaya Osman.
Welcome, Mazoon. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
You've dedicated years of your life to campaigning for girls' educations and have been called the Malala of Syria. Why do you think this issue is so important?
First of all, thank you so much, and thanks to all of you for coming. I feel so proud to speak to you and to share my story as well as my thoughts. To be honest, it all started when the war started in my country, Syria, as it was mentioned earlier. And I was a normal child. I was living a normal life like all of you. I had a beautiful and bright dreams. I really had no worries about my future. I had no worries about my studies. I was going to school every day, live my normal life. I just play and really think about nothing which is devastating or negative. So in 2011, following to the Arab Spring, the war started in my homeland, Syria, and we had so many challenges. When the war started, of course, our life has changed upside down. We really couldn't go to school safely. We couldn't live safely. At any moment, you might die and lose your life. So it is not only about education, but it is indeed about all your whole life, basically. So when the war started, of course, there is no future. Once there is war, there is no future. This is the fact that we hear about, but we really know the reality of this fact when we live in the war, or when we are children and just hear bombings and fighting all around us and we know nothing. We know what's happening around us. So in 2013, 2 years and a few months after the revolution started and the situation becomes really tough, my family and I, of course, had to flee Syria and to live in refugee camps in Jordan. So we lived first in Za'atari camp. And for me, I really didn't care about anything except my education, because I really was concerned if there is a school in the camp. I knew I will have a really tough life in the camp. I really will have so many challenges. But the only thing that made me sad, it is thinking about education and if there is no education. So when I was in the camp in Za'atari, you know, the life was completely different, of course. It was really tough. For example, we had to live in tent. In the past, we had to live in a house. We had, of course, no electricity. We had no internet. And I cannot even name the number of challenges that we had in the camp. But the only thing that I really asked about it was the school. So I asked if there is a school. And when I heard there is a school, believe me, that moment has changed my life. Because it is the time I realized I can face these challenges. It is the time when I realized I can follow my dreams. It is the time when I realized I can prove to everyone that refugee is just a name and we are strong enough to get our rights, even if we are young. Because I am one of the people who believe anything happens to you, especially if you are a child, it is not your fault. Especially war, because I didn't make the war in my country. Of course, I didn't want to see my country destroyed. And for me, school was my life in the camp. And when I found school, I found hope. So fortunately, I met so many girls who don't believe the same, and even boys, of course, who thought once we have become refugees, once we have these challenges, we cannot achieve anything in our life, or education is not a priority. To be honest, I cannot blame these children or these people because they had really difficult experiences. But for me, as a person who believes education is so important, I believe it important to everyone, especially for girls and to everyone, to be honest, because in the future, Syria, my country, doesn't need only Muzun to be educated or a small group of people who are educated, but it needs everyone. Every single child who had an opportunity to go to school, they must go to school because our country needs us strong. It is not enough to say, okay, I love my country. Of course, I love my country, but we must transform these emotions into actions. I know here it is the real love to my country. And this is how I was inspired to start my activism work and to be an activist and to campaign. But now, of course, my voice, after living 3 years in the camps, I lived in 2 refugee camps, first in Za'atari and then in Azraq camp, both in Jordan. And then now I live in the UK. I have resettled with my family. I am not only a voice, of course, I feel so proud. I am not only a voice for Muzun herself. I am a voice of millions and millions of children around the world. And this something makes me so proud and makes me motivated more to campaign more. So my story is not only my story, but it is indeed a story of millions who are voiceless around the world. And that's why I am so encouraged. And of course, I will never give up on fighting for girls' education in particular and giving them a voice and telling everyone, no matter what, no matter how old you are, no matter where from you are, no matter what the challenges you face, you really can achieve something if you follow your dreams or if you believe you can do it. Because no one in this world cannot do anything. All of us can do something. We all can make a change. And in particular, girls, I want to encourage them to know that they must listen to the voice of their hearts and the voice of their skills. If they know something and if they believe in something, they must go for it and they must do it. Because, of course, we will meet so many negative people in our life. I met so many of them who told me it is not my business to be an activist. It is not my business to advise people about education. But as long as I believe it is important, as long as I believe it is something can benefit all of us, I must go forward. I must believe in myself, and I must fight for what I want. Because I know sometimes we can have impact from other people, but the real impact, it comes from us. If we disencourage ourselves, if we underestimate ourselves, it is the time we will lose. So I can guarantee to you, you will lose if you don't believe in yourself enough. So first thing we have to do if we want to do something really successful, or if we want to prove ourselves, we must listen to ourselves and to believe that we are good enough or even great enough. Keep on motivating yourselves, because I always believe we can be, of course, motivated from others, but the real motivation, it is from us. As long as you are strong and your heart is strong, you will be strong.
You have been through some incredibly difficult experiences. What motivated you to keep going when you were living in refugee camps?
Of course, the challenges are many, and of course, I had so many stages in my life. I had a normal life in Syria, then the war comes in, which is a different state, and then we lived in the camp, which is completely different life, and now in the UK. So all these actually changes are really difficult to adjust every time and every place you go to build a new life from zero. So you start from nothing to build a great life. But what makes me positive and makes me go in to think about the things that I have and other people don't have, to feel so lucky and grateful about the things that I can have access to at the time so many people are deprived from. Of course, I don't want to say I am happy to see other people deprived from things to be motivated, no, but because what I do, it is something to benefit others and to improve the life of so many people around the world. It is when I see their challenges, for example, so many people cannot go to school, where now I can go to university and they have, you know, a normal life after the challenges I had. So the first thing, if you want to be positive about the things that you do, you must feel lucky about what you have. For example, in the UK, so many children, they are students and they go to school, they have great teachers, great school, great curriculum, great opportunities. Even in terms of employment, they have a lot of options to work and to have good jobs. But because they don't know about the challenges about others, they feel, okay, we take it for granted and it is nothing. That's the same feeling I had when I was in Syria. So for me, it was something super normal to have electricity, for example. It was super normal to have a good house. It is super normal to have my relatives or my family around me. But when the war started, when I had those challenges, I realized how sometimes we must be grateful to things that we can easily lose. So if maybe in one moment your life it changes, and that's what happened to me. So for me now, I am so grateful. Of course, I didn't achieve everything in my life. I am still from the beginning of my life, but being grateful about the great things that we have, which is so many in the world, they don't have them. It makes me so positive to go forward and to not give up on this voice, because this voice, as I said before, it is not only mine, but it is the voice of many.
Who are your own role models? Why do you think role models are so important?
That's a great question. To be honest, there are so many people. Of course, for me, a person who is more than a role model, he's our Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, because he's number one. He's not only a role model because he's bigger than a role model. Of course, he's a perfect example to me and billions out there. But because we learn a lot from our Prophet Muhammad, of course, we are talking about women, but if we really read about the Prophet Muhammad, about his life, about his teachings, it teaches us so many unique things, how to treat women amazingly and to believe in women and to know the great things that women could do. But when it comes to normal people who I lived with and who I know in person, of course, I would like to mention an example of my grandmother. I don't mention this so much, but indeed, my grandmother, she's now a very old woman, and I unfortunately haven't seen her for more than 7 years because I fled Syria and she's still in Syria. Of course, you know, the old people in our country, they don't love to leave their homeland. So they say, okay, we want to stay in our homeland. So she didn't flee with us. But I remember when I was young, I was spending most of my time with my grandmother. And my grandmother, she's not educated woman. She even doesn't know how to read or write, because in her time, the education wasn't available. Even for men, it was difficult, not only for women. But the great thing or the great impact that my grandmother had on me is education, because My grandmother herself, she made with my grandfather, but I didn't know my grandfather because he passed away before I was born. But both of them, they worked hard on their children to be educated. So for example, my dad, my uncles, and my aunts, all of them, they were educated because of my grandparents. Both of them, they believe greatly in education. And in all their neighborhood or all the people who are around them, no one has sent their daughters or even their boys to education. Most of them, they keep their children at home or to do job that benefit them, except my grandparents. They believed in education and they sent their children to schools and supported them in terms of education. That's why I had a very educated family. But my grandmother, I remember for myself, when I was a child, sometimes, you know, I don't go to school or I feel so lazy not to go to school. Or sometimes I threw some papers that I have from the school. We have some homework on it. We threw them, we don't need them, but she brings them when she finds them. Even she doesn't know how to read and write, but she brings them to us and tells us, keep them, go to school. I wish I was, you know, like you. I had a school. I wish I was able to learn. And even she was knowing the times table because she is not educated, but she felt the mathematics is the easiest way to know some knowledge. And when we don't go to school, she wakes us up and pushes us hard to go to school. And she tells us, if you miss day of school, you will lose so much. And you really don't know the value of education because now you go for school. And but then I realized what she means because I had so many hard challenges. But in her time, you know, when I was sitting to her, I felt I am not sitting with a person who's not educated, but I felt I am with a person who's you know, super educated, because awareness is even better than the people who are educated, because sometimes you are educated but you are not aware enough, or maybe you don't support education. But one of the women who really impacted my life positively in terms of education is my grandmother. So for your question, the importance of having a role model, I feel it is really important because sometimes we feel less motivated, so we need an example to follow. And here the importance of role model comes. Once I have a positive role model, I can achieve great things and I can reach to my goals in my life.
It's been fantastic to speak to you today, and thank you for being such an amazing role model for girls in Syria, in the UK and all over the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause to Mazoon Al-Malahan.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Congratulations on this amazing initiative, and thank you, Miriam, for asking me to be with you today. Studies show that even in progressive Denmark, I was just there, the pay gap between men and women starts at the moment we decide to have children, and that gap is never closed. Effectively, there is a tax on having a family, which is mostly paid by women. And it is not only about money. Research also shows that mothers are considered to be less committed to their jobs by managers than non-mothers. And this is unfair. It is also totally untrue. So my advice, let's challenge the status quo every day. I, for example, did one of those supposedly male things. I proposed to my husband. By the way, I did it by phone. I was in New York, he was in Madrid. He did say yes. So speak up and trust yourself. Only 26% of women see themselves in a top executive role, whereas 40% of your male peers do. It is a fact that around the world, women only put themselves forward for a promotion when they're more than qualified, way more than 100%. The number for our friendly men colleagues, much, much lower than that. So what would be my leaving message? Never be afraid. Learn how to make decisions. Learn how to make choices. And it is okay to change your mind. The tide is turning, and for sure you will have more opportunities than your mothers and your daughters, if you choose to have them, we'll have even more. But the world is not going to wait for you to grab them.
Thank you so much to Anna Botín for that message, and also Julia Gillard for the one you heard earlier. And of course, thank you to Maya, Marwa, Rakeb, Sumaya, and Mary Beard, and Mazoon Al-Melehan for everything that you shared. And to the girls, thank you for making it happen. Really well done. So now the last part of a few quick words in this room before we move next door, because next you're going to have a taste of something that Inspiring Girls does all over the world, the speed networking sessions, where girls get a chance to spend 5 minutes face-to-face with women across a range of different roles and get an idea of what they do. So we're delighted to be joined by some really inspiring women who are going to be sharing their worlds with the girls who are here. So let me tell you a little bit about them. Nimco Ali is one. She's an activist and campaigner who's founded organizations which combat female genital mutilation. She works more broadly on women's rights as well. Her book was published earlier this year. It's called What We're Told Not to Talk About, But We're Going to Anyway, Women's Voices from East London to Ethiopia. Pippa Harris is also here. She's an award-winning film and television producer, chair of BAFTA, the British Academy of Film and Television Awards. She's been involved in lots of award-winning series and films, Call the Midwife, Jarhead, Revolutionary Road, among them. She's an ambassador for Women International. Katie Robson-Malone and Samantha Wilson are both firefighters from the London Fire Brigade. They have lots of experience. Katie's now a crew manager. Samantha came to the Fire Brigade having worked in the fitness industry. Natalie Pico, you saw a glimpse of her in a video earlier. She's managing director for Twitter in Spain and Portugal. Madeline Borga is only 18, a YouTuber with almost 600,000 followers. Her videos are often, by the way, about things that she wishes she'd heard more about when she was younger. And Anne Usher is a gold medal winning Paralympian who's represented Great Britain in 2 different sports, first mountain biking and then sprint kayaking, which she only went into in 2011, and she ended up winning gold in Rio in 2016. So I'm sure you'll agree that's a fantastic range of work that the girls will be hearing about. And after the networking, Ben mentioned this earlier, but there's going to be the I Am Remarkable workshop, which is all about celebrating achievement. And of course, you can't leave until you've recorded a video in the video hub outside. I'm fairly certain that that will be made impossible for you to do, but I'm sure we'll all relish the opportunity. So thank you all for being here. Congratulations to the Inspiring Girls team, Miriam, Vicky, everyone else, and hope you enjoy the rest of the morning. So please follow the girls through to the foyer where we can get the speed networking underway. Thank you all.